Matt Bunt, welcome to 15 Minute Marketing. Thanks for coming on the show.
That's my pleasure. Good to see you.
You too. I really appreciate your time because you are a man about town. You've been in the studio recently with Shane at the Cornwall Channel, I know.
Yeah.
Kind of talking next steps. But I kind of wanted to talk about your expertise, really, because obviously that's what 15 Minute Marketing is all about, is to give hints and tips to business owners far and wide. And I know that you, we met a while ago through Cornwall Chamber.
Yeah.
That's when you were obviously at St Austell Print. But I know that your expertise very much lies in radio, doesn't it?
I'm one of these people that I'm a man of many talents, and I've actually built most of them up in broadcasting and radio.
Wow.
So I've been involved in professional radio since 2005, when I ran Malibu Surf FM, which was a summer radio station in Newquay.
Fantastic.
And then I was part of the launch team for Atlantic FM in 2006, and then went on to work for Pirate FM from 2012. And now I am one of the directors of Radio Newquay, which is a community station that is based, well, as the name suggests, in Newquay.
And it's a fantastic station. I've listened.
Thank you.
And I've listened to the other stations as well. I am old enough to remember Atlantic and others as well. So, absolutely fantastic. And I think this episode, what I'm going to try and cover is, from a marketing point of view, where does radio fit in with your marketing mix as a business owner? So I'm going to ask Shane now to start the 15 minutes, and let's get into it.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Shane. So tell me a little bit about radio advertising then. Where did you start with that and the advertising kind of process?
Radio advertising is really, really powerful. It is one of the most powerful forms of advertising you can undertake. The first thing to bear in mind, though, is you've got to be confident that your business and your message is one that really lends itself to radio advertising and the platform as well. So back in the day, before you had hyperlocal radio stations like Radio Newquay, if someone came to talk to us at Atlantic FM or Pirate FM, where we covered the whole of Cornwall, the first thing you would ask them is, well, okay, where do you want to be getting customers from? Who
Sure.
do you want to be talking to? Because if you're a fish and chip shop in Penzance, then chances are you don't really want people imbued.
I suppose
hearing
there's
about
wastage there, isn't there?
It is, yeah. It's a bit of a scattergun approach.
Sure.
So you've got to be confident that you are talking to the right people and it's the right geographical area, first of all. And also, you've got to look at return on investment. So radio advertising is really, really good value. Mm-hmm. When you look at return on investment, so there's an organisation called Radio Centre who represent a large number of commercial radio stations in the UK. And they've worked out for every £1 that's spent in radio advertising, you can get £7.70 back as a return on investment.
That's incredible, actually, because obviously, as you know, I work in outdoor, and actually the numbers are quite similar. And we thought we stood aside there with that. But actually, radio's, I know, is always quite similar with us, which is why there's companies like Global that exist, which have both mediums. They've got radio stations like LBC and others, and they've now bought a really large proportion of outdoor.
And with Global, that was a very, very shrewd move. And I'll explain more why I think that's a shrewd move in a few moments.
Sure.
But when you look at radio advertising, so if you look at someone like Radio Newquay, we're a not-for-profit station, we're hyper-local, and so it's relatively really, really good value to advertise. If you look at, say, one of the county-wide radio stations or even a national radio station, then, it could be up into the tens of thousands of pounds to put together campaigns.
Sure.
But what I'm trying to get across is, even though it might be £1,000, tens of thousands of pounds, it is such a strong medium that you will see a return on your investment if the message is right and if your company is the right sort of company.
I completely agree, and I think what I like about radio advertising myself, and this is, I've never worked in radio advertising at all. I've worked in advertising for a long time, but that's only ever been print and outdoor. But what I've always liked about radio, and why I've always encouraged my clients particularly to not just put all their eggs in my basket when booking their advertising, and to actually spread it across as much of the marketing that suits them as a company and their kind of target market, is that what I find with radio is it's a bit like podcasts in the sense that it's that friend in your ear. And Shane and I were talking about this on Friday night. It's about you're maybe in your van at work, or you're in your car driving between locations, or you're at home doing jobs. And the reason why you put the radio on is because you want to have that background noise. You want to hear someone friendly talking to you.
Absolutely.
And when an advert does inevitably come around, you're in that mindset already, aren't you, of there's a friend in my ear.
That's it, yeah. And radio forms such a big part of people's lives, even if they don't realise it. It could be on in the background in the office. It could be on in the car. I mean, the amount of radio listening in cars is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And radio is very trusted. So again, looking at Radio Centre, they've got a fantastic website where they've got loads of independent research that they've commissioned. Radio is a very, very trusted medium. And in particular, over the last 12 months with the pandemic, that has really come into play. People have turned to radio. Around 36 million people a week tune into radio across the UK, commercial radio.
That's
across
half
the UK.
The population.
Yeah, so it's a huge number. And a lot of them are saying that they trust radio. They trust commercial radio, and so being that friend and advertising on there means that you can get across to so many more people. And as you were saying earlier, you recommend to your clients they don't put all their eggs in one basket. As you know, that is, well, those are the basics of marketing, aren't they?
They are. It's the marketing bits. It's the 3 M's as I always use. It's finding your target market first, then getting your message right, and then working out which medium is the best to get your message out to your market.
Yeah, absolutely.
And radio, I think, really fits in with that. It can be quite broad, a little bit like outdoor. I have this issue sometimes where some clients will be like, actually, it's not targeted quite enough, and it's quite a scattergun approach. But I think for the right client, radio and obviously outdoor are similar in that sense, is that you can get it really right, and you can get your message out really effectively to loads of people really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way to look at it is, even if it's not a specific call to action you're looking for, in terms of brand awareness, when you combine radio with any other form of advertising, so you combine radio with out-of-home advertising, so outdoor advertising with people like you, with online advertising, with television advertising, print advertising, they work so well together. And radio is a bit of an enabler. And even if you're not actively listening to the radio, you will still subconsciously be hearing things that are going on. And one of the issues that we've always had in the radio industry is when clients try to attribute where they're getting their leads from and their conversions from, they will ask, "Oh, where did you hear about us?" Yeah. And people will always go for the last thing they looked at. So it might be that they actually heard the advert on the radio and then went to the website. And when they're asked that question, they go, "Oh, yeah, I've been on your website."
I get this all the time with clients, and I always tell my clients, it's a really important thing, check the month of the campaign that you've had with us, and check the increase in traffic you've had to your social media or to your website.
Yeah.
And the good thing about social media and anything online now is it's easily trackable. And I think a lot of people as well, when it comes to like radio and billboard advertising particularly, because they are so similar, they're just different senses, one's audio, one's visual.
Yeah.
I think people are so used to and always lazy that, I need to be able to track my metrics, and like they do on social media. But I try and get across to people, you don't always have to do that.
Exactly, that is it. And you've got to use your gut feel sometimes. You've got to use anecdotal evidence, because we're spoiled nowadays with the amount of analytical information you can get from Facebook and other social medias and Google Analytics and so on and so forth, that sometimes it means you can lose focus. And you do find a lot of younger marketers in particular who don't trust their gut anymore, and
I agree.
And business owners who don't trust their gut because all they're looking at are figures on a screen. And that's a real shame, because you've got to follow your gut. You do. Really have.
I think as well, I mean, what I'm hearing a lot from clients this year, and I bet you're probably hearing it as well, through over at Radio Nuki, is that because of COVID and because of things like Brexit and other things that are going on in the world, social media is very busy with a lot of noise about other things.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a change in algorithm on social media and a lot of other online activity recently, and brands are not getting seen as much as they used to. And we've actually been busier during COVID as a result, because a lot of brands have decided to come back to the more traditional forms of media. And I would say radio definitely falls in that traditional form of media.
It does, and it's going back to that trust thing again.
Yeah.
So the problem with social media, I mean, don't get me wrong, social media and online advertising is really massively powerful. But
huge.
at the moment, people are suffering from digital fatigue.
Yes.
People are spending more time on social media. They're scrolling all the time. It is so much harder to get your message across, which is where mediums like radio, which is already trusted, mediums like Royal Mail door drop campaigns and leaflet campaigns
huge at the moment.
Yeah, we used to do a lot of that as an Austell printing company, not only for ourselves but for clients as well. Always had a great return on investment, out of home advertising, and as I said, that is where companies like Global, who are, I don't know if they're the biggest, but they're one of the biggest media organisations in the UK.
They're massive. I know they're probably my main competitor, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but they are traditionally in radio. They're sort of doing a little bit of TV stuff as well here and there, but then they've also bought the outdoor division, so they have got sites all over the UK. So you go and book a radio advertising campaign with them.
Yep.
You can also book some billboards to complement it, and it means when people are out in their car, they're hearing an advert for your company as they're driving along,
And they're
then
seeing it.
2 minutes later they see a billboard.
Exactly.
Repetition builds reputation.
I completely agree with you, and this is why I think we do. This is Shane's the same at Cornwall Channel. We network and we work with other media mediums, really, because I think you'd be doing your client a disservice if you ever turn around and said, no, you need to put all of your money in outdoor or all of your money in social media. And this is why it's important for me, because although I'm not global and I don't have radio stations and I don't have loads and loads of billboards all over the country, I've got billboards locally and hyper locally as well, a little bit like Radio Newquay's hyper local to Newquay. But I can turn around and say, right, you're doing that billboard, what else are you going to do with that? Are you going to run a targeted social media campaign to that postcode area?
Yeah.
Are you going to run a radio advert? Do you need some video through the Cornwall Channel for your Facebook page or for your social media, which just helps drip feed in? Because they allegedly say that 7 times it takes a company's name to be mentioned.
Yeah. Some old research that keeps on coming up, but around 7 times. Hear the message 7 times, hear the company name 7 times, and it's in there. You'll remember it.
Yeah, straight in. So if you say you've got a business owner now watching, okay, they're looking, it's end of year nearly, coming into April, they might be planning their marketing budget. Why should they go radio? And have you got any hints and tips for them when they're planning campaigns about what they should look for?
So the one thing that I would say is that radio stations have really, really good teams who are there to ensure maximum effect and maximum return on investment. So really use that. They have great creative teams. They have account managers who really understand and will get to know your business and understand how they can use radio to achieve that. So don't be afraid to make that call. Don't be afraid to have a meeting with them, whether it's Radio Newquay, if it's Pirate, if it's Heart, whoever, because that is what they do. They are experts, and tap into that expertise, and you'll be surprised the amount of help and guidance that you can get. So don't ever feel that you've got to do it on your own.
Just use the resources that are being offered you, then, essentially.
They've all made a massive investment in having the resource there, even in these times when you can't physically meet people as easily. They have made massive investments, so really do take advantage of it.
Because I think that's a bit of a misconception almost as well, because I get it a little bit, because I sell advertising to companies. So whether that be I meet them and go and see them, or I ring them up or contact them on LinkedIn or whatever, I think a lot of people will look at us and go, oh, you're a salesman, you're trying to sell me something, you'll sell me something regardless of whether it's right for me or not.
Yeah.
And I think we're lucky in Cornwall in the sense that the business community is so small. We all have to act differently, and we all have to actually make sure that we act with integrity and actually offer really good consultative advice to companies.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of business owners may have had a bad experience in the past with a advertising salesperson or whatever, and they may be a bit standoffish with them.
Yeah.
But that's really good advice, that the training is now there, and I know that because a lot of the media owners and media agencies and stuff in Cornwall now have some really great people, which I'd speak to, and you know, you think we'd be competitors, but we generally bounce off each other and say, look, I've got a client that wants this, and they're trying to achieve this. What can you do to help them? Because I'm doing this.
Like you said, it's too small a county to start sort of screwing each other over. That's not what people do. We're all in the same boat. We're all there to help each other, and the resources out there. Radio stations want the campaigns to work for their clients, and so they will do whatever they need to educate and come up with some really cool creative ideas as well.
And that's the incredible thing about it as well, because whether it be a design that's needed for a billboard or for a social media campaign, it's also the jingles. That's what makes radio really memorable, isn't it? So do you have like in-house teams that do jingles and things like that at Radio Nuki?
So what, making the adverts, making the commercials, we actually use an external company so that we can ensure everything's as professional as it can be, and also we're a small organisation, so we can't always produce everything ourselves. In terms of, I know Pirate have in-house, and also Heart through Global, they have their own in-house producers. Amazing. Some really, really impressive people that work there and come up with some really creative ideas. What I would say, though, is make sure there's consistency across everything you do.
Yep,
and
that's very important.
Never underestimate the power of a sonic as well.
Okay, that's
I'll give you an example of a sonic. Yep. Okay.
A nice little jingle.
That is a Sonic logo.
Everyone knows that kind of thing as well, don't they? Everyone remembers it. It's like, that's McDonald's.
McDonald's,
I know that immediately. Yeah. And everyone across the planet will know that. And it was Justin Timberlake that did that originally.
It was, the original song,
Incredible. Well, we're almost going to end on that in a minute, because we're coming up to 15 minutes. So I've got literally 15 seconds left. Have you got a last thing that you want to say?
No, not really, other than just remember that repetition builds reputation. Wherever you're advertising, keep repeating that message, keep repeating your company name, and people will always assume that you are the market leader.
There we go. Fantastic message to end on as well. Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming on 15 Minute Mark.
It's been a pleasure.
See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.